And we're live, and no one can tell us otherwise. And there's a video in the background playing, but I hope nobody else can hear. Hello, Internet! Welcome to the Crafty Boys, where we talk about whatever comes into our own little brains, and we drink beer at the same time. We also might talk about some fancy details about the beer that you may not understand or know about. Not understand. Of course, you can understand beer. Of course, you can follow us here at the Crafty Boys on Twitter. Yeah, I'm fancy and stuff. And hey, Alan, what kids are walking in through the background there? You should tell them to.
Okay, well, so we just got a hot tub. So our place is party central out in the backyard. How was the hot tub?
Oh, excellent.
It was excellent, apparently. So, yeah.
Very, very cool. I'm very pleased. Very happy. So
that means we have a Crafty Boys episode in the hot tub.
In the hot tub.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Electronics and water tend to not mix very well.
That
so I don't know.
Be true.
Yeah. So I don't know how feasible it is to do a show from the hot tub, but we can see.
You never know. So we have a wide variety of beers today. Alan, I think we should let Locke go first because he's always the weird guy out with the cool beer from way back
Absolutely.
when.
Okay, so before I get into the beer that I'm drinking this evening, which I selected for this evening, I have to say something about what I was drinking earlier this evening, which is to say that it is muggy and it is hot in Toronto right now. And I went down the Radical Road with cucumber mint Kolsch, and it was awesome. Very, very thirst quenching.
Sweet.
Oh.
That was a for a day like this kind of mind bending. Yeah, I highly recommend you get your hands on one if you can. Now, what I had planned for this evening was the Lacombe Brewery Long Shadows IPA.
Okay.
Lacombe Brewery are in Lacombe, Alberta, and I only know very dodgy things about Lacombe. It's just north of
Dodgy things? We use cadavers for one of our flavorings.
Well, some of the people I went to high school with claim, and I don't know the truth of it, that they used to hang out at an abandoned hospital up near there, which sounds really crazy. But yeah, that was my understanding of what Lacombe was all about. And so when I saw this Long Shadows IPA, I thought, Jesus, this is a creepy looking can. This is like, so Blind Man Brewing is the name of the brewer.
What is it?
Alberta's craft beer. Blind Man Brewing, and there's a jug on it, giving you the impression that they're talking about moonshine.
They were at the Canadian Beer Festival last year.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Sorry, continue.
So anyway, as they put it, for our first take on a North American IPA, we squeezed every last drop out of oily, resiny goodness out of our favorite American hops. All the flavors and aromas the hops of the Pacific Northwest, floral, pine, citrus, spice, and funk, find a home in this beer. Restrained malt character, high mineral content water, high carbonation, and moderate bitterness combine to create a distinctively dry beer. Hop oil and alcohol subdue the bitterness, letting the beer finish with clean, your palate refreshed without your upper lip getting all sticky. Okay, well, let's give it a shot, see what this is all about. It is clocking in at 7.1%, and we have international beer units here. I'm not seeing them. Well, we'll have to hold for that later.
Wow.
I love that sound.
That's the best sound I've ever heard. Alan, Dave, you guys have the same beer, I think. What did you guys get for this fine evening?
I would just like to say that Blind Man's website is cool.
Whose
Totally.
website?
Yeah.
Blind Man Brewing.
Yeah, they've got a great website.
Well, before we get into our beer, Locke, what are you thinking about that beer? Like,
So, see, this is interesting to me because they're right about it being dry. And yeah, I mean, okay, so it's predominantly in its style, I would say it's a Northwest IPA. But there's a lot of citrus here. I'm not talking full on orange juice, like fresh squeezed kind of, but it's there. It's 100% there. Giving it a sort of a balance between sort of, your Pacific Northwest type of IPA and something a little bit more hazy.
okay.
I'm very interested.
Yeah, this is a killer beer. I really like this. This is quaffable, but flavorful.
That's a good combination. All right, so Dave and I, we have the same beer as Shane alluded to. What have we got, Dave?
Slurping. Sorry. So we got this badass here.
Ooh.
Okay, so it's from Daggerad, Forgotten Future. It's a table. It's a table saison with black lime and white pepper. So now immediately, table saison says to me, flavorless, low alcohol. Now it is 4.2%, but
Flavorless alcohol?
flavorless. But I will reserve my opinion until I actually try it. So let's try this table saison and see what it's like.
And for me this evening, I am drinking Red Racer IPA, and that's about all.
That's the same one that you
currently
had last.
rocking in at 6.5% alcohol by volume. It's their standard IPA they've had for quite some time, and I don't think we've featured it on the show, but we definitely drank it on the show. At least I have. But it's a strong ale, and it's in the 5 ml cans. The classic Northwest style IPA with a strong bitterness. Oh my god.
Did you say that was in a 5 ml?
A strong bitterness and intense citrus pine hop character. So there you go. That's all you got. There's no international beer unit rating on the can, but I'm sure I could find one online.
Okay, so getting back to the Forgotten Future here from Daggerad. For a table saison, this one's pretty decent. You definitely have the black lime and white pepper flavoring to it, which adds to it. If it didn't have that, this would probably be a pass for me. But it adds some complexities to it that really makes the beer shine. Good. It's a shame that it's in a tall can. I almost think that it'd probably be better off in a 6-pack of, 345 ml cans. Just because it's a saison, right? So I mean, it's sessionable. You don't drink one; you have 4 or 5 over an afternoon and evening, kind of thing. I'm enjoying it though. I'd probably have this after like mowing the lawn or something like on a hot Saturday afternoon. And you know what? I mean, it's perfect right now for it because the weather here, I mean, maybe not so much today, but the past few days here has been stinking hot. So, I mean, this is really refreshing. Dave, what are you thinking?
It's reminding me of one of the beers we've had, but of course I can't think of which one it was out of the hundreds. But it's not bad. It's not bad. I don't even know what to say. Like, it's nice. It's light, which is for me a bonus. Sometimes that is nice. kind of like you're alluding to. It's, one of the good ones for after mowing the lawn, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But honestly, for me, I'm not noticing the lime or the pepper so much. In fact, I'm not really catching it at all.
It's subtle. I think you said it reminds you of a different beer. I know Fuggles and Warlock has a lime pilsner. We have not done it on the show, but we did try it one time at Beer Fest last year, and it was quite good. And the lime was a lot more pronounced in that beer than it was in this one.
Okay.
If I was to choose between the two, I'd probably go with the Fuggles and Warlock. But that's not a knock on this beer. This beer is a good one. What do you think,
I
Dave?
think we haven't minded. Not that we've done a whole lot actually from these guys, but I think we've been pretty down with whatever we've tried from them.
Yeah. And
Sorry, I'm trying to imitate Locke.
Oh. Okay. Shane, so that's the same beer that you had last week, right? I believe it is.
Maybe. It could very well have been.
And you said that you were going to do the session IPA this week.
Yeah, I was. And somebody I know drank it.
Drank them.
I'm not sure who she was, but the beer vanished.
Her name
magically
Peanut
during the
Gallery
week,
by any chance?
Yeah, that's the problem. You can't leave the beer unprotected. If you get beer, I mean, these are the rules. Here are the rules about beer. Now, I'm sure you were all familiar with them, but essentially, if you buy beer and you put it in the fridge and you say this is for the show, and then that beer vanishes and disappears and goes away, and you can't blame yourself because you didn't drink it. You have to automatically,
There's the law of beer, okay? Beer cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. So the beer is never really gone after it's drunk. It just turns into something else.
Sometimes it starts as that thing, but
Sometimes. I think that's Newton's third law or something. No, it's not. It's not Newton. It's maybe it was Coulomb.
You heard it here first. Hashtag the law of beer.
Beer cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. So,
have you guys ever had that experience of buying beer and then finding out later on it's gone without you having drunk it? I'm trying to picture this. Many times?
Oh yeah. No, that's the best ones are where I've just forgotten that it was me that did it.
Oh really? Are you like
when somebody else's fault? That's
crack a beer open
fine,
and drink it?
But when I've flummoxed myself, that's when you know that you're time to take a breather.
Well, yeah. I mean, there are some times I always picture, at some point, if I've ever been like a sleepwalker, like I wonder if I've ever done that. Like if I ever got up and done something and went back to bed and not realized it. And one of the things I think, if I ever did this is where I'd wake up. I'd wake up like this in front of the fridge. What the hell am I doing? Oh, this is really
okay.
cool.
I gotta tell you guys something. Okay, so this was years ago. My oldest son, who's almost 21 now, when he was like small, he was like 4 or 5, and he comes to me one day, goes, "Daddy, where do you go every night?" I'm like, "What?" He goes, "You always walk past my bedroom in the middle of the night." What? Maybe I sleepwalk. Maybe I'm out robbing banks or something in the middle of the night.
Well,
give the money to charity or something.
There's a famous Canadian, what do you want to call it? Case of a guy, a peanut gallery. The guy who woke up and murdered his mother-in-law. Where was he and where did he go to? Was there some distance involved? Oh, same town. Okay, so I was thinking like, did he drive from like Winnipeg to Souk? But anyway, this guy woke up in the middle of the night, murdered his mother-in-law in her home, which was like he had to drive there to get there, and went home, went back to bed, and had no memory of doing this. Didn't realize this had happened. And when the police figured out what had actually gone on, what was the result? What was the result of the case? I'm gonna bring the nerd in. Sorry? He was found not guilty for reason why? Automatism. So basically, yeah, he was not guilty.
I'm sure the mother-in-law's family is.
I'm sure they were totally all on board with that one.
Yeah.
But Locke, have you ever run across that case?
Oh yeah, I totally know the one you're talking about, and there are a suite of related cases on automatism relating to hyperglycemia, or is it hypoglycemia? There's actually a difference in the legal standing of hyperglycemic and the autonomous behavior is different under hypo and hyperglycemic conditions. I don't remember how it works. I probably should look into that because I'm hopefully about to be passing my Canadian criminal procedure.
Nice.
I don't know if it's true in Canada, but in the UK, that relates to whether you're guilty of murder or not. So probably relevant here as well.
It's interesting. I mean, the things you could get away with, all you have to, I was like, how do you prove you were sleepwalking and not?
Well, the case law is actually a little bit upsetting on that. Like, it's really hard to say, and so a lot of the time it's sort of like, well, okay, so what is reasonable doubt? Because that's the standard for crime.
Right. Because there's no way you can prove that a person was or right.
If somebody has a documented condition, that makes a difference.
Yeah.
But it's an evidentiary thing, right? Like, how would you know? Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. It's just because you have a documented condition doesn't mean that you couldn't cynically say to yourself, "Oh,
yeah, no, exactly."
I have a documented condition.
Well, it's like it's like individuals who are acquitted of horrendous crimes because they find out after the fact. Although some of them have been, convicted and sent to jail, but they find out either in jail or they find out during the process that they have a grapefruit-sized tumor in their brain, and when those, and so if they're successfully treated for that kind of stuff, there's definitely like some people, they get operated on and they have no memory of the last X number of whatevers because the tumor has invaded that part of their brain, and their brain just is not acting normally. It's not forming memories. It's not doing anything properly. And one of those things, unfortunately, is they go off and they shoot somebody or they murder somebody.
One of the weirdest cases of that, I believe this happened in Texas. A guy was under such conditions and got himself a case of Pepsi, a rifle, and a bell tower, and went to town. But he left a note, and it said, "Check my brain. I think there's something wrong." And when they checked it, what they found was a tumor pushing up against his hypothalamus.
Yeah, I just searched for that and I found it right away. So yeah, that was in Texas, 1966. And he stabbed somebody, and then went up into a tower and started shooting people. So yeah, I mean that's the thing is that it says here it was suggested that the violent impulses, which he'd been struggling with for years, were caused by a tumor that was found above his amygdala during his autopsy. So I mean, this is the thing, right? These kinds of things are real and are not pretty, but that can happen. So you can actually have situations where you do something horrific I mean, it's like people that have gone through, severe depressive episodes and all kinds of things, and then one of the things that one of the treatments, if nothing else works, is still electroshock therapy, and I mean, there's a lot of science and a lot of whatever behind it, but from my perspective,
Fundoscopic examinations.
it's inconclusive in these cases. But basically, yeah, rebooting your brain. I mean, it is
still very much a last resort, though.
Sorry?
It is very much a treatment.
Oh, yeah, no, totally. No, I'm not saying it. I mean, it used to be common therapy, and you can still request it, I gather. But essentially, it's like it's doing what you do in any computer on any given day, or a phone, or whatever. You basically shutting your brain off for a second and letting it kind of reboot back into the default setting. And I remember in psych classes back in university where we got to watch like videos of people getting electroshock, and they get interviewed before, interviewed after, and it's like night and day, where they have no memory. I think one of the longest ones, or not the longest treatment, but one of the individuals that was being interviewed had lost like 7 years of their life because they could not remember. They remembered feeling sad one day, and the interview, and so for that period they did whatever other treatments you normally would get for that kind of stuff. But then the interview right before, the person had not bathed in a long time. They refused to bathe. They hated themselves. They were very much they were being asked questions, and it was just like the worst case you could ever be in. Think of yourself at your lowest point of your life, if you've ever really been that upset, and then multiply that by 100, and that is what I remember seeing in these interviews. And then they did the electroshock, and that particular person had, I think, 2 treatments of it in one day or something, and cut their hair, bathed, and they were completely, quote unquote, normal afterwards. And when they were being interviewed, they're like, I don't know why I felt that way. I have no idea. I do not feel that way now. The last memory they had was like, 7 years in the past. And they were still coming to terms with the fact that they could not remember what they did yesterday or last week or whatever. And they were shown these.
Remember was 7 years in the past. Is our hypothesis here that this was caused by trauma, and by resetting the brain, the trauma didn't play?
Possibly.
Is that the theory?
Well, the theory in that particular, from what I remember, this is going back a long ways, but what I remember from that was the person lost their memory because of the treatment, because that's one of the side effects of this is your brain gets scrambled, right, a little bit, so you do lose a few things here and there. But that individual, they did not recall, like what you're saying, like what kind of trauma. They could not recall. They had no idea why they were upset. They couldn't remember why they were upset. That was kind of the gist of it.
The slightly different question: did the clinicians know what was wrong?
I don't think so. They never. In the videos that we got to watch, was like 4 or 5 sort of an episodic kind of thing of 3 or 4 different cases. They never really talked about that, from what I remember. Anyway, I'd have to see it again. It's been a long time. But it's like watching people. The other thing too was we watched things about people that are suffering from incredibly early onset Alzheimer's in their 30s, and they're being talked to and interviewed constantly.
Oh Jesus! Imagine having Alzheimer's in your 30s. You're that.
That's terrifying. Like I remember feeling so bad for this one dude, who was, I think he was like 32, newly married, and he suddenly one day started forgetting a few things, but then it escalated really quickly. So his wife was like recording him all the time and talking to him, and you could actually see when he was kind of losing, bits of, or getting confused and whatnot. But I think the worst thing I saw was this guy who he had meningitis. I think he had meningitis, and he survived meningitis, but it destroyed the part of the brain that forms short-term memory. So this guy was in a facility, and he couldn't remember much. Like he had fine memory from prior to the disease, but he was constantly journaling, like writing about what he was doing. Like 12:02, I am having a sandwich. 12:07, I have finished my sandwich. 12:00, and he had
like flowers for Algernon.
Really, yeah. Well, so yeah, and basically he was being interviewed, and they were like, so that the people, the documentary crew came with his wife, and his wife shows up, and the thing that he said was that I don't know who you are, but I have this strong desire to hug you. And then he would be told that his wife would remind him who she was, and he would kind of remember. But the next day, he'd remember no interaction. He could not understand anything about who these people were. And the journaling that he was doing, where he was documenting constantly about what he was doing at what time, he would actually get angry if he said, well, the thing you wrote yesterday at 4:00, you said this. And he's like, I did not write that. And no matter what they said, no matter, like, it's your handwriting, you have a whole stack of these books here, he would just, I did not do that. I have no memory of doing that. It's not me. And then he'd get really upset and angry. And, his wife, basically his wife's encounters with him when she came every day always ended with him getting angry. And that's when she knew to leave, because he was getting so confused. He was getting so frustrated that he could not grasp any memories from the day before, or during the interview, he was talking to the people, asking him questions, and he was, having a lucid conversation. And then he looked outside, like he looked and turned, something distracted him, and he looked out the window, and he turns back to the camera, and he actually goes, whoa, where did you people come from? Like he did not even know that those people were sitting there, and he'd been talking to them for like 20 minutes. Like, that to me is like the worst. Like, you were still functioning, you're still able to do things, you could remember to write, you could remember to read, but you're never going to remember anything. You're not going to form any new memories, because it's basically you're restarting every single moment. That would be just be the worst. Like, losing my memory is one thing, because I know eventually, someday, hopefully in the long, long future.
Have you seen the movie Memento?
Oh yeah,
that's a great movie.
Don't trust
Nolan's breakout film.
What? Sorry?
Christopher Nolan's breakout film. That was his walk-on performance.
Yeah, I because that has oh my lord, what is that Australian actor's name from? I'm forgetting everything now.
Mel Gibson.
Yeah, Rory Calhoun.
That was going to be my next guess.
But it has Trinity from The Matrix. It has a lot of well-known sort of people that you'd recognize. Actually, it's funny, because I not too long ago I watched his Dunkirk film, and I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out, because it's not a glorification of anything. It's not. It's actually kind of a slow burn film of just basically documenting, 3 or 4 days, I think it was the timeline of the film. And but
it's very candid in its way of storytelling.
Exactly. Oh, look at this. I have real crystal, by the way, for anyone watching. I can see there's people watching, but real crystal in your beer, or beer in your real crystal. Anyway, but yeah, I think that, there's one thing about Christopher Nolan films. Have they ever talked about beer? Has beer ever been like a replacement product in those? I actually can't think of one.
I'm thinking of Batman. It's not about beer. It is about intoxication. What, you do weaponized solutions on a night off? Something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, I think. But some banter with Alfred about weaponized hallucinogens. Didn't we see that?
I seem to recall something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole film is about. Oh, here we go. There's a website that I've gone to before called the productplacementblog.com. So you go there, you search for the film name, and sure enough, Batman Begins has a Budweiser beer sign at one point in a window, and then of course the Batman's Lamborghini Roadster, Mar-a-Lago Roadster or something. So there you go. Product placements, they exist. What a weird conversation going from
Totally.
beer to whatever to
Well, beer and electroshock therapy and product placement all kind of have a sort of
homicidal sleepwalking.
Okay, so let me bring this back around. I don't know if we maybe we have a responsibility to talk about this since this is a beer thing, and it's regarding a Vancouver brewery that has a bit of a brouhaha. See what I did there? So apparently, Parallel 49 has had allegations of mistreatment, inappropriate conduct from former employees via an Instagram channel called Not Our P49. I didn't go too deeply into looking at the allegations, but it caused Parallel 49 to put out a statement that they were recently made aware of the allegations and the owners take full responsibility and make no excuses, blah, 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 blah. Some people are saying that their statement is not enough, and a lot of people are refusing to purchase Parallel 49 product going forward. What do you guys think?
Well, my first question is it true?
Yeah.
Because right now I'm dealing with a situation in my own sort of court where there's a particular character who has been making amazing allegations for like a decade now. None of them have proven to be correct. In fact, he's evidently made a lot of them up. Actually, he's made all of them up. So none of these are sexual, but you can make allegations very easily nowadays.
Yes.
So what do you do about somebody who does nothing all day but go around making allegations? Exactly. I'd like to know more. Like what the fact that Parallel 49 are responding the way they are, to my ears, tends to confirm the rumors rather than deny them.
Yes, absolutely.
But are they doing that because that's actually the case, or are they doing that because they're looking down the barrel of a publicity gun that they don't know how to fight? I mean, the difficulty today is there are totally people who are happy to spread fake stories about people, damn their reputation, see what we can do, see if we can shake them down for some money, right? And so how do you deal with somebody like that?
Yeah.
If the allegations are baseless, well, that's fine. But if you're not given your opportunity to prove it, it can still be damaging, right?
There's apparently 40 different people making claims of various wrongs.
When we say 40 different people, are we talking 40 different people randomly or 40 different former staff?
Former staff.
Okay. So how do you know they're actually former staff? Just because they say so?
Yeah. So that's about it. They range from racist and transphobic actions, sexism, homophobia, misogyny. They just describe the workplace as toxic. Is the voice writing these things sufficiently similar that it could be one person deciding that they're just going to bomb them with this? I don't know. I didn't actually read them myself. This is just what's been in the news.
See, this is the thing, right? And if you were playing that game, that's what you would rely on. Nobody's going to read all of this. I'll make enough allegations that people will buy into it. And that's the thing. People are looking for that nowadays, aren't they?
Yeah, well, the thing that I mean, I have the unpopular opinion is of I kind of am a fan of research and investigation and
Mhm.
due diligence and due process, all these kinds of things. Um, and I would like to very much believe everything that's been written. I mean, I just skimmed a couple. I'll have to go back and read a few more. Um, but the whole idea that that there, where there's smoke, there must be fire. Uh, for me, it doesn't wash in the grand scheme of public opinion and the public court,
Right.
because uh, the responses that you normally see are and Parallel 49, to their credit, has done. They. I'll just read this to you, Locke. So the first thing they're going to do is that they've apologized and whatnot, and whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
But hiring an HR professional to deliver a higher level of support to employees, I think that's totally fine. An organization of their size, I'm kind of surprised they didn't already have an HR person.
Mhm.
Maybe they're just adding to the
No
staff.
HR rep. That's poor corporate governance. Yeah.
Yeah, so a sensitivity and management training for all levels of management, including the ownership group, because I guess some of the owners were also in the list. Now, actually, I saw one of them being described as an owner. Working with staff to identify and address areas in which workplace culture does not reflect our key values, and exploring a partnership with the LGBTQ community to develop and enforce a program for owners, employees, and customers. Now, I think that's really great, but here's where I have a problem with it: is that there are people that are in the public that have been commenting, and I've glanced at a bunch of these comments, and a lot of them are saying roughly the same thing. They're demanding to know why, as if they have a right to know what a private business is doing. And that is a common call that I keep seeing over and over and over again, where somebody is a whistleblower. The company responds in a way that I would deem to be diligent. They're doing what they should be doing. Okay. If we're unaware of the situation or blind to it or ignoring it, now we're going to have to deal with it because it's out there in the world. But at the same time, I certainly hope there'd be an investigation into what's going on, that they'd actually get to know all the details, because it's like in any, say, a homicide. A horrible crime is committed, and you see people screaming for justice 20 minutes after it happens, but the police and whatnot are like, well, whoa, hold on. We need to actually look at what's happened. We need to verify what the details are. And that happens, and that should also happen in private companies like Parallel 49, where they should have the time to say, okay, what the hell's going on? We've been made aware of this. They can look inward and go, dudes, what the hell? And they've actually, and really that's really all they, in my opinion, need to have done. Deal with it internally and whatnot. They went an extra step and said, hey, people out there, these are the concrete things that we're doing to make this better. But still, people are like, well, who is this for? And I demand to know. No, you have no right to know. Just because the people that are complaining, which I certainly hope all are real, but I cannot say for certain that they are, I would like to believe that is what's going on, but I'd like to, have a grain of salt with it to say there's probably most of them and probably a few that aren't, that made some shit up. But ultimately, something has happened, and it's good that they said that something is being done about it. And that is all. The public has no right to do anything beyond that. It's a private organization. If it was a Crown Corp, or if it was a publicly funded body, then yeah, what the hell, dudes? I want to know everything right bloody now, not because I'm sitting here waiting to. So anyway, I don't like that, because I find that.
Now, having said that, one of the allegations, and most of the allegations I saw were just kind of, I don't want to say petty things, but not exactly illegal things. But there was one allegation that they supposedly employed practices that enabled them to get around labor laws.
That's bad too.
And that's bad. Like, that is really bad. And if that's the case, then the public does have the right to know what they did. Yes, they do.
No, it's still a private organization.
Still a private organization that.
Well, what do you? Sorry, which one did you read? Like, what exactly happened?
So there's actually a decision that informs this type of inquiry. It's called. No, the case is gone. I'm going to have to brush up on that. But there is a case, a decided case involving Lord something or other. It's Lord something or other's rule. Chesterfield. I believe it's Lord Chesterfield's rule. And I think what it is this, that the way laws are construed, yes, you have to follow the laws. You have to follow the laws. You have to. But you don't need to expose yourself to regulatory laws, or for that matter, taxes or any other burden placed upon you on the state. You don't need to expose yourself more than you would normally do if you had opportunities to choose, how you're going to conduct your business, right? If you're conducting your business in a way that ultimately is legal, but gives you the option of avoiding a particular pitfall regarding, an obligation to the state, you're totally welcome to do that. The question is, when you did that, were you generally acting lawfully, or was the other thing that you were doing some violation of your obligation to the state? So that's how that stuff is construed. In something like labor laws, part of the problem is, there's a lot of opportunity to play by the rules, to play by the letter of the law, let's say, but not by the spirit of it, right?
Right. So I guess.
So what is what is your thing? Keep going, because I don't know if I understand it.
Well, I was just wondering. We have covered. Does this change your feeling on Parallel 49? Would you continue to buy their products? And I'm hearing from Shane and Locke that you would. So just kind of get a feeling. Does this change how you feel about Parallel?
We live in a society that used to believe in the principle of innocent until proven guilty. Nobody's proven anything. Somebody's made a Facebook site. Is that my understanding of what's happened?
No, well, yeah, basically, yeah. Not Facebook, but yeah.
Yeah, innocent until proven guilty. I'm prepared to stick with that. And
exactly. And that's
the other piece of it, which is not something like, if I didn't like something that somebody had done with that color, whether or not I wanted to support the business, does all the time. I make those sort of choices.
Yeah.
But let's not disguise merit where there's merit just because we don't like something else that's involved in the picture. Have Parallel 49 made quality beer? Have they been one of the organizations that, in terms of the development of the craft, they've brought something to other people that's been a benefit? I think that's an unquestionable yes. They have merit as well as whatever else is going on in that picture. I'm not going to walk away from Gypsy Tears being one of the drinkable on-tap beers around Vancouver for about a decade. Am I right there?
Something like that.
At least, yeah.
Credit where credit's due. That's good at. Right now, this is a debate about good for, and that's a different kind of merit, right? Are they being morally good people? I don't know. I have limited respect for being morally good, only in this respect that if you're not competent first, then even if you're morally good, you could still do people harm, and that's just vanity, which is, morally wrong.
Well, my attitude about it is that no, I don't have a right to know what's going on inside of the walls of Parallel 49, nor would I ever really want to demand that information, regardless of what I heard was going on. Should research be done and it be proven that, say the owners of the organization are Klansmen, then yeah, I would totally say, you know what?
That would change my opinion of whether I want to buy their beer. It might still be good beer. I just might not buy it anymore.
Exactly. So, and that's the choice that I would make based on, some evidence being shown and some proof being provided. I mean, the one thing though is that the one thing I do give credit to for the individuals who created the Instagram account, they're opening themselves up to some libel, definitely. They are potentially in violation of Facebook and Instagram's terms of service, because if it is ever proven that they're slanderous, then the account could get deleted. But the credit that I want to give is the fact that the one question I would like to have answered, but I'm very much willing to wait, I'm not going to demand it right now, is why did this group of employees and former employees have to go outside of the organization? That, I think, totally worth looking into. It's still not any of my business, but
it seemed, and this is just me speculating, but it seemed to be a bit of a copycat thing, because there's been
it's happening more and more and more. Yeah,
things that have been going on in similar industries where people have complained about. So it seems like a bit of a copycat thing. It just seemed kind of like a timely copycat thing.
And that's the thing, is that to be morally righteous about it in order to post these things about what's going on inside of an organization, any organization, not just Parallel 49, is definitely something that people need to be wary of, because if they do find that, say, 9 people in the group were telling the truth and were telling what exactly happened from their perspective, and then one person decided to hop on the bandwagon and made some shit up, that takes away everything, right? So, and puts them in harm's way for legally speaking. So, because slander's a thing, and all these kinds of things can be argued, right?
It's in the criminal code. Getting the cops to do something about it is, it's sort of like asking them to find your stolen bicycle.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Civil action's possible. You can definitely sue people over it, but if they don't have anything, then they're litigation proof.
Well, yeah, exactly, right. So, and this is the reality, is that it is a dangerous game to play, and there actually are avenues for employees to bring their employers to pay attention to what's going on. It does take effort. Not as much effort, obviously, as an Instagram account and some screenshotted chat sessions, but there are avenues for people to do that. I mean, if they leave, do they make it their mission to save those who are still there? Sure, but once they're gone, there's more avenues for them, legally speaking, to do this, and that is what they should do. Is to actually say, you know what, these horrible things are actually, these are actually crimes. Now I would like to charge so and so with this, and then bring the legal system into the situation, because then one would hope that everyone plays by the same rules. But I don't know. I just don't like the Wild West component of it, I guess. That's the part that I don't like.
It feeds into our outrage culture.
Yeah, exactly. And the problem is that when that gets away on you, you don't know it. And then you have, look at what's happening in Portland right now, which is not really the greatest parallel, but but essentially you have a government who's decided that those rowdy protesters, who really 99% of them, from what I understand, are not actually rowdy, are getting unmarked cars driving up and throwing them into the back of vans and stuff to try and intimidate them. Essentially, they do this. Apparently, this is what's been going on. Actually, maybe Locke, I don't know. Maybe you haven't.
Yeah, so that's been confirmed by 2 out of my 3 sort of radio. Well, one of them semi radio responsive. Out of people who I've texted in the last week about this, who actually live in Portland, everybody's confirmed that it's as bad as the news is saying. So that happened.
But all I'm saying is that there are definitely, and now that it has been confirmed, I think even Trump admitted that's what they were doing. There are legal avenues for those people to follow, one would hope, in the States, at least. So I don't know. I think that at some level, it just requires a bit of effort to use the system that we have, and potentially there's something that could be done about that. How could we actually make it easier for legitimate things to be given the process that they should be given? Mm-hmm. I think to be honest, I don't know what the situation for somebody who got treated poorly by an employer, like what actually would that be? The only time that I've ever had to do anything about an employer was many, many years ago when I was a member of a union, and my direct employer messed up. They forgot to notify us of something that was important that affected our employment, our employability. And myself and like 5 other people were like, well, that's not fair. What did we forget to do? And the employer our manager tried to put it on us that we should have known. Yet we were never notified. It was them that was notified, and they forgot, lost off the side of their desk or whatever. But then they became belligerent. Like, I was on a phone call with them, and I said, we have to solve this, otherwise I can't work next week. And I don't feel this is my responsibility. You were notified. You were supposed to tell us about it. Why are we not knowing about it? And so I actually had to go to the union and say, I don't know what to do. And the union said, let me look into it. They went off. They did their investigation, which took a couple of days. And then they said, yep, no, they came in. They should have said or given you this information 6 months ago. So it's not on you. It's on them. And, but I had to wade through rude voicemails and stuff, and I left several of my own rude voicemails too, because I was getting so frustrated and angry. But at the same time, I also made the decision that I don't really care. I have been wronged by my manager. They messed up. I, at the beginning, treated it, like, okay, well, you messed up, so what are we going to do about it? But when they told me when the response was, well, you're going to have to figure it out, that's when I lost my cool. And I said, okay, well, that's not cool. And that's when I went to the union, and it got solved like within a couple of days. Yeah. But I had to go through that step of going to the union and saying, I need to file a grievance against my manager. What is that process? Here's what happened. They have told me that they messed up, but they don't want to do anything about it, and they're leaving it on me. What do I do? And they said, we have rules for this. We got you. We're going to take care of this. And but society as a whole, do we think that people in that situation, do they not know where to go? Like, to be honest, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I would actually, employment standards, I guess, would be the first place.
And, if you think about it, it's sort of like, people who are in their like early 20s or something like that. And, the first place that they turn is social media, right?
Yeah, well, and this is what I mean. And that's not the best choice. I mean, I'm just trying to say that, yes, they'll open themselves up to potential lawsuits and things like that, but it's not actually the best thing. Like, yes, you want justice and but ultimately, when you think about it, what will actually get the result you want? Is the result that you want somebody not to work there anymore? Do you want some sort of thing to be fixed so you can either return working there or continue working there? I mean, there are methods to go, but aside from our Provincial Employment Standards Act, I mean, I don't know really where to start. Granted, I suppose in the next 10 minutes, if I sat down and did the research, I could probably figure it out. But I don't know. Social media just does not seem to be the way to go, because I'll never forget the
Social media will be the death of us all.
Oh, probably. Or we'll eventually realize it's kind of useless and move on. But the big thing,
as we're broadcasting on social media.
Yeah, exactly. Let's all get our own lives. I remember a guy I know made a spoof website called Get a Real Life, or Get a Life, I think, or Get a Real Life, or something like that. And it was a spoof. It was a screenshot that had been manipulated of that Second Life website, like Second Life when it was a thing eons ago. But anyway, I mean, there's ways to deal with things that are not so social media based. But on the other hand, social media has done some kind of amazing things where when you have totalitarian governments restricting people's lives, and they're able to get the story out through social media because it's sort of a low level, very fast way of disseminating info. There it is. But I don't know. I'm definitely conflicted, because I would like people working in a horrible environment to be able to not work in said horrible environment. But at the same time, I disagree with the screaming into the void and not really doing the best thinking, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. But there is a time and place for it as well. So, it's one of those things where you just have to make an educated decision about how much risk you're willing to deal with before opening yourself up. Because one of the things that I see quite often where you have these social media things going on, like Alan's looking at social media right now, I suspect.
No,
you keep looking down. You keep looking at your can? There's a novel of text on there. I don't know. I'm struggling for words. Sorry?
I'm concerned about something else, Shane.
All right.
So if it becomes easier and easier to try to ruin somebody's reputation online as your first order of like, it's easy recourse. It's when you're doing it, you think justice. When other people are looking at you doing it, they think revenge. It's one of those things that it's sort of, it can often be a fine line. And the thing is, if you make that so much easier for everybody, do we just end up in an environment where everybody's doing it to a point where we just tune it out because it's just more static, it's just more of the same. It's like flipping back and forth between Fox and CSNBC or MSNBC or multiple sclerosis NBC or whatever the fuck it is. When you flip back and forth between the two of them, it's the same thing, just in a mirror image. And it's unhelpful to making any kind of useful distinction about, so what the fuck is going on? And is this all just overly distracting? Is this all just shit that we have to tune out now? Because it's like getting too many emails for, the amount of spam that I get on a daily basis. My day begins with delete, 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 delete. Oh, this one I can unsubscribe to. Unsubscribe. Next day I get the same message. Delete. Right?
Do you guys remember that Twilight Zone episode where there was that kid who could read everybody's thoughts, and if anybody had like a negative thought or something,
no, that's a good thing.
Into whatever. This is what social media is.
That's a good thing.
That's what social media is. Okay, it's sort of like it has become the nanny state, but it's not the government that's watching over us. It's all of us watching over each other.
but you notice what they're watching over isn't good at. It's always good for.
Yeah.
Because they're not actually good at anything. Otherwise, they'd be doing something other than YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, right, that's us.
I guess, I guess you're right. The fine line between thought police and not, wanting to
Big Brother
do harm to somebody because you have a belief about something. Like, for example, I'll pick on what's his face,
Dave.
Orson Scott Card. Orson Scott Card is a writer. He's written a lot of famous stuff, but he's also a Mormon. And from what I understand, Mormons are against homosexuality. So when people find this out or make this connection or realize this, they decide that he needs to pay somehow. He needs to suffer somehow. But at the same time, if you're somebody who's a member of a different religious group and your beliefs are just on the table like everybody else's, so should we make you pay for something your religion says? And if you say it as an individual based on the fact that you're a member of some organized religion, should we somehow harm you or punish you for that as an individual?
What about if you're making facilitating to the point of making, like, Ella, hockey dads and ballet moms? Imagine you're making decisions about your kids' gender, sexuality, and they're under 16. Is that good parenting or not?
What, to
What
raise children in a religion?
No. There's a lot of parents out there trying to do the right thing, and I'm not suggesting that they're trying to do the wrong thing. What I'm asking is whether by trying to do the right thing, you occasionally get parents trying to support in their mind, apparently gender differential child, and they want to support that, and so they're facilitating it, and it's getting them beat up at school, and maybe maybe according to the Canadian law, like, they're not even of an age where they get to make meaningful decisions about that anyway. So they're not even of age to choose to have sex, but already you want to facilitate as a parent what you take in your mind as a parent as their gender preference when they're just trying stuff out because they're still little kids.
Yeah, no, I've actually been seeing this in the news lately more and more and more, where you have parents
that's
that's
a pretty heavy discussion.
Oh, it totally is.
It is a heavy discussion. Do we have 5 hours?
Just the tip of the iceberg.
We have time.
A lot of heavy discussions that we don't need to have right now.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think that there's. Ultimately, I guess really what I like about this type of discussion is that we're actually having it, and I think that not having it and allowing unbridled accusations flying around the internet about this, that, and the other thing, based on whether it's the Parallel 49 situation or a completely different one. The fact that we're actually having it, because in my mind, having it will lead us down a path where we hope to have a better solution for it. So why do employees do this? Do they do this for revenge? Do they do this because they feel they have no other option? And where is...
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Well,
that's the thing,
former
right?
employees, so I would say it's got to be revenge.
Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
But again,
they're not going to get money out of it.
That
they don't work there
if they went to a lawyer, maybe.
I see. I'm not going to rule
not
out.
Now.
I don't know exactly how you would measure damages or what
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it would have to be
Yeah.
case by case, but I'm just saying that having the discussion is important because, as unpopular as I feel that my opinion is about it, um, I also don't want to stop people from doing it. I just want them to pause and think, count to 5 and go, okay, well, if we start posting this stuff online, is this really a good idea? Maybe we should talk to a lawyer and say, hi, we want to do this. What is our exposure? What could backfire on this if the people we're attacking have deep pockets and have lots of lawyers ready and willing to do whatever they need to have done? Are we going to be bankrupt by the end of the year? That could happen. That's sort of worst case scenario.
Well, another question that I think is probably worth asking, and is, are we making the landscape overall worse?
Yeah,
Like,
but,
yes,
but
you know,
don't forget that's
sometimes,
lawyers thinking about it.
That guy, what he did to me, I can't let it go. I need to get back. I need some kind of revenge here. I need some kind of recourse. And
don't forget, they don't think that way.
How much
Lawyers
damage
do.
are you prepared? How much collateral damage are you prepared to do in the pursuit of that?
Yeah, but lawyers think that way. That it's not the regular sort of walking
Fair point.
person, right?
Yeah,
So,
and that's maybe one of the other reasons why you would consult one.
Dave,
Exactly.
Dave, could you let some of the other people talk for a change, please? Shut up. Okay?
Like 20 minutes ago, I was thinking exactly the same thing. Like, we're all talking, and Dave's just like, yeah, all right, cool. All right. So let's have a
I'm
discussion
sorry,
about how to
I know, I
set
just-
Dave's face on fire. Okay, how are we going to talk about that? Because we'll talk about the many ways to ignite Dave's face on fire with whatever accelerants we need, and Dave will be like, yeah, okay, cool, right on, perfect. I mean, we do that on the show. We talk about these, incredibly deep subjects that need to be talked about. At the same time, are we just here to drink some beer and fart and tell Star Wars jokes? I mean, come on.
Isn't it a little bit like being at a bar? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave doesn't like going to bars because he likes to stay home. Although here I think it's in Vancouver specifically, but I could be wrong. Allie, where's the thing where you can't stand up in bars anymore? You have
I think it's province wide.
Is it province wide? So anyway, apparently now this just came down today where restaurants that are open are not allowed to have people standing, and they can't move around. They have to be seated, and all of the service that they get is to the table.
Well, and it stands
which is another heavy topic of why are people dumb in a pandemic?
Yeah.
Which is essentially why I'm, for all that I'd happily just pay some of my favorite establishments to stay open, and in fact, I'm already doing that right now with the yoga studio that I went to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no. I mean, I still pay them my fee. I get where we are, and I get what their limitations are. I mean, they treated me right. They got me, a pretty good deal on the way in. So, truthfully, I'm happy enough to just leave it alone. I'd rather that than have to renegotiate after they figure out what they can actually afford to, offer in terms of a membership commitment. But
That's mighty kind of you.
anyway, we live in very strange times right now. I don't know how long they're going to last, and neither does anybody else if they're being honest.
Well, I mean, put it this way:
so wait and see.
India is in another lockdown because they had cases going up again. But looking at the numbers, you have a country that has a population of more than 1 billion, and they've had 29,890 deaths, where the United States has a population of 300 million, and they have 150,000 almost. So you kind of want to know what's your population doing that's not cool. And just yesterday, down in English Bay, there was a drum circle. And I have to mention this. Did you guys see this? The the rules around BC coronavirus and sex.
Yeah.
What do they have to say about that? I'm curious.
So, well, I'll tell you really quickly here. My sister has kept me up to date on this quite readily. So I thank her for that. So here we are. So basically, two things have happened in the past 12 hours that are absolutely stunning. So the COVID-19 and sex. The BC Center for Disease Control recommends and that sorry, I'm trying to keep it together. So here are the rules. They're right here. Okay. If you are feeling well and have had no symptoms of COVID-19, you can have sex. But here are some recommendations. Masturbating. You are the safest sex partner you could have. Virtual sex, such as video, phone chats, sexting, or online chat groups. This will protect you from getting COVID-19. But if you decide to hop in the sack...
Do they actually phrase it that way?
No. Having one or few or regular sex partners can help lower the chances of this, that, and the other thing. But here's the recommendations. Ask your partners if they're feeling unwell before and after you have sex. Wash your body with soap and water. Wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Wash your sex toys thoroughly. Do not share them with multiple partners. Wear a face covering or a mask. Heavy breathing during sex can create more droplets that may transmit COVID-19. Avoid and limit kissing or eliminating kissing or saliva exchange of any kind. Choose sexual positions that limit face-to-face contact, or, and I quote, use barriers like walls, e.g., glory holes, that allow for sexual contact but prevent face-to-face contact. So this, of course, glory holes being listed on the BC Health website has, of course, made a bunch of people kind of have fun with this. And the website youporn.com has apparently sent a letter to Charlie Hughes, from Charlie Hughes, the Vice President of YouPorn, to the Honorable Adrian Dix, Minister of Health of British Columbia. Dear Minister, at YouPorn, we highly value the importance of considerate sexual exploration and release in our daily lives, even more so during COVID-19. We applaud the BC Centre for Disease Control's guide for its recommendations of the use of glory holes during intercourse to limit face-to-face contact during sex in the name of safety. The BC CDC states, sex can be very important for mental, social, and physical well-being. It is a part of everyday life. People can and should continue to have sex during the COVID-19 pandemic. We here at YouPorn, more than anyone, know this to be true and are absolutely in agreement with you. We are aligned with the BC CDC and would like to extend an offer of our support in an effort to continue to flatten the curve without foregoing sexual pleasure. To please provide people with a safe option for engaging in sexual activity, we would like to offer the province of British Columbia a grant of $100,000 to support the building of glory holes across the province. We hope to see you on the other side. Signed, sincerely, Charlie Hughes, Vice President of YouPorn. So there you go.
Now, I would like to say, BC is not the only North American jurisdiction to state that. Actually, New York State was the first to recommend the use of glory holes, and that was maybe a couple months ago.
Well, hey, I'm all for YouPorn giving money to the CDC to make glory holes in our fair province. So, would I use them? Probably not. But just the idea of having the option to do so, rock and roll.
Yes, but you've been with your partner for how many years? Yeah, you ain't using a glory hole or anything else.
But yeah, I mean, I gotta say, even though I'm sure. Well, hey, maybe they could give $100,000 for something else. There's no word yet on whether Dix took YouPorn up their offer. Da, 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 da. On that note, everybody, That is our show. Thank you for checking us out. Thank you for watching. I saw a bunch of people sitting there watching away. I don't know why you're hanging around but you were sticking with us to the end to find out about the government of BC's glory hole program. So until next week, we will see you then. Same time, same channel on Wednesday nights. Do all that social media stuff, if you wanna. But otherwise, just show up. Come on and hang out and chat with us, and hopefully we'll all have a good time together. And as always, Alan, take us out.